Okay, hopefully my microphone and everything works. All right. So focus today is really grounded. I'm actually going to have you start on your backs so you can lay down and get comfy. The focus is just releasing some things, grounding in, because everything in the world can be a little chaotic if you're not taking the time to ground in. And then a little opening through the heart space, because that's always good. So welcome. When you're ready, settle in to your breath. This is a good practice for any time of the day, but especially in late afternoon, evening time. Release the day. So take a deep breath in through your nose. Send it all the way down to the base of your spine, not just that upper chest area. Let it out through an open mouth sigh. So do this as many times as you need to kind of shake off the day and allow yourself to be fully present in this moment, on your mat. Notice any tension that you might be holding in your body. Take the breath into those spaces. Allow it to melt. Knowing that this is your opportunity to release, to reset. And to refresh. Feel your back body, feel the contact to the floor. Maybe deeper into the earth. Maybe imagine roots growing down into the earth. And then letting those roots draw nutrients up into your body. Maybe you start to feel that blossoming from your heart space. Take another deep breath in through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. When you're ready, slowly draw your knees into your chest and give them a squeeze. Just be really gentle to start. Maybe rock from side to side. And check in. How's your spine feeling? You can stay like this, or you can take your hands right to the tops of your knees and start to make little circles. Just guide your knees in circles in one direction a few times and then reverse. Nice massage for your sacrum. Come back into stillness. Hug your knees in. Lift your head if that feels comfortable. Take your hands to your shins. Curl a little more into a little ball. And then release. Set the feet down. And then hug your right knee into your chest. Leg release all the way out. That leg just relaxes, but you flex both feet. Let your shoulders roll all the way back and down. And give that right leg a little wiggle. Maybe some circles, maybe just some side-to-side rocks. Just massage the right side of your digestive system. And then hug that right leg in a lot. Hug your elbows in toward your sides, into your ribs. Roll your shoulders back so they anchor into the earth. Feel grounded all the way through your back body. Keep flexing both feet. Energy flows through the heels and through the crown of the head. Big breath in, and then exhale out. Take your right hand to your knee, and left hand anchors to your hip, so just to your hip point, and that'll keep it from lifting. Gently guide that right leg open. And just notice if your hip starts to lift off the ground. See if you can resist that. Keep the hip anchored and open to whatever degree feels safe, feels manageable. And if you have space, you can start to straighten that leg. Maybe you catch behind the knee. Maybe you take your hand to the inside of the leg somewhere, as close or as far away. Or if you have that big toe grip, you can hook your big toe with your peace fingers and let that leg open out to the side. Chin tucks slightly, lengthen through the neck. And then slowly bend your knee. Hug it back in through center and switch the hands. So the left hand goes to the knee or the shin. The right arm opens out like a wing, and you start to cross that center line as you guide your right knee over to the left. Keep that right shoulder grounded, and you're just reaching until the right hip starts to lift. And then from here, feel a little resistance. So your left hand kind of guides your knee down toward the floor, and then at the same time, your right hip kind of wants to go back down toward the floor. You can feel a little resistance, a little active mobility. And again here, if you want to stretch the leg, straighten the leg, if you have space, you can keep the hand where it is and maybe just send the heel out. Stay active through the lower body. Keep flexing through both feet. Maybe a little IT band stretch here on the outside of the leg. And then slowly bend that leg. Come back through center. Take both knees in. Rock from side to side. Releasing any tension through the breath. Then the right foot touches down. Keep that left knee in. Hug the left knee. Straighten the right leg all the way out. Flex both feet. Give that knee a wiggle. Any movements. So you're massaging your lower belly. Find stillness. Give it a good squeeze. Shoulders draw back. Lengthen and ground in through the back body. Feel completely anchored. And then left hand to the shin or the knee. Right hand anchors the hip. Guide that knee open. Back body stays grounded. Every breath allows you to find space in each shape each exploration in this movement practice. If you have space, maybe explore straightening the leg to whatever degree, and you'll see later why we're doing this. Just a little preview. Find whatever grip on the inside or the outside of the leg, if that feels safer, like you can kind of catch it. And then bend the knee. Come back through center. Right hand to the knee or the shin, left arm opens out. Ground that palm in. Keep the shoulder anchored into the earth and cross that center line. Left knee over to the right side. As you pull the knee down toward the floor, resist that by pulling the hip in the opposite direction. Just see what happens when you have that little resistance, that little activation. Starts to build some heat. And then straighten the leg if that feels like that's something you feel called to. And you might notice the difference between the left and right side at this point. Some of these stretches are very glaring as far as unbalanced muscle tension. Bend your knee, come all the way back through center. Hug both knees in, rock from side to side. So 2 options here. If you have a spine that doesn't like too much rolling on the ground, you can come to the side and come all the way up into a seated. Or the other option, take your hands just behind your knees and start to rock the length of your spine. And you can make it a little massage. You can even roll down one side and roll up the other, and then switch. And just kind of make it fun, if you can, if at all possible, on a hard floor. And then when you've had enough of that, then cross your ankles, come up, and roll over your ankles into a table position. Set your strong foundation, hands underneath your shoulders, knees under your hips. Press into the fingertips and across the knuckles. Roll the elbows under and broaden across the chest. Awesome. And then as you inhale, let your heart come forward. Your tailbone lifts, but you're still activating through your core. Pull the heels of your hands back so your heart comes forward. And then as you exhale, round your spine. And flow through this with intention, using your own breath. So going at your own pace. Maybe close your eyes and just tap into sensation. You can even hold it if you feel like you need to stretch and just hold. Let this be your own practice, your own exploration of movement. But letting the breath guide the movement in whatever way you move. And you can stay in this linear movement as long as you choose, or you can start to take it off of any sort of design and let it free form flow. That's fun to say. This is where you tap into your body's internal wisdom, and if you listen, it will tell you what it needs. It will tell you where you are holding tension, or where maybe you might just need to bring a little more awareness. Let it be as big or as little as it needs to be. When you're ready, come back into stillness. Set your foundation again. Press into your fingertips, roll your elbows under, broaden across your chest, belly button to your spine. So strong through the core. Send your right leg back. Level the hips. And even more here, draw the elbows under. Press the shoulders away from your ears. Awesome. And then you can roll the ankle, stretch the toes, whatever you need to do. And then ultimately, your foot can be in whatever position that it chooses. Flexed, pointed, relaxed, pressing through the ball of the foot, whatever helps you. Finding stillness. Set your right hand a little bit more into the earth, almost like you're gripping the floor, and then left arm reaches forward. Little balance challenge. Stretch long, reach across the room. And then as you exhale, bring your elbow to your knee. Inhale, extend. Exhale. Squeeze all the breath out. Just flowing with the breath. Slow and controlled movements. Moving through the breath. Last one, contract. Extend the arm and the leg, and then just set the hands down. Both hands press evenly. Flex the foot, bend the knee, and lift up. Press the foot to the ceiling. See if I can articulate this. Press again into that right hand. Take the left hand, and you might connect your hand to your foot or your ankle. Maybe you stay here, or maybe you press that foot to the ceiling. Can you press the ankle into the hand? And then slowly release. Hands touch down. Keep that right foot flexed. Touch the toes down. And then press forward and back. Roll the elbows under. And feel like you're going to tear your mat in half. Just a nice stretch for the back of that right leg. Slowly release. Touch down. Sink hips to heels. Fingertips reach forward. Forehead presses down to the earth. If you can. And since we're not using props, if your forehead doesn't meet the earth, you can take your hands to stack right underneath your head, like a little pillow, so that your neck and your upper body are fully relaxed. And send your breath into your back ribs. And create some space. Every exhale, feel that release. On your next inhale, roll all the way back into a table position. And if you want, sit down onto your heels and just come up. So sometimes wrists can be a little tricky. So you can give some movements to your wrist to just kind of release some of that pressure. And then when you're ready, you can come back to it. And just increasing the load, increasing blood flow. And you're working on strength, just getting the wrists and the arms used to bearing load, working the muscle, and it develops over time, just like any muscle that you work with any regularity. And when you're ready, set yourself back into your table pose, strong foundation. Elbows roll under, shoulders reach back away from your ears. Left leg reaches out, level the hips. Equal weight through both hands to start. And then roll the ankle, stretch the toes. Sometimes we forget about our outer extremities. So, wrists, ankles, fingers, toes, all of that. Give it some love. And then find stillness. Let your foot be in whatever position that it chooses. Bring your weight into your left hand, and then right arm reaches forward. Feel that activation through the mid-body. Stretch long across the room, and then as you exhale, elbow to knee, connect at the center line. Inhale, expand. Exhale. Open wide. And contract. 2 more just like that. Slowing down the movement, activating all the big muscles in the posterior chain. Connect. And then reach out. Let that right hand touch down again. So you reestablish your foundation. Bend your knee, flex your foot, send the heel toward the ceiling. You can stay here or reach back. Maybe you connect hand to foot, press, and as you press into the hand, that right shoulder rolls forward. A little balance challenge. Notice the shifting that's going on between your left hand and your right shin. Slowly release, touch the hands down, flex that foot. Left toes touch down, left leg is straight. Just press forward and back. Roll the elbows under so you have this strong foundation. Your arms are probably burning a little bit, which is good. Doesn't take much, a little isometric movement. And then release. Sink hips to heels. Fingertips reach forward. Or hands stack underneath your forehead. Close your eyes and just imagine your internal environment being shaken or scrubbed clean through the movement. Using the breath to release what does not belong. And then when you're ready, come forward again. Table pose. Set the hands strong into the earth. Tuck the toes. Lift your hips, press back. Keep your knees bent a lot. So your chest almost connects to your thighs. Your palms are flat into the earth, and you're pressing into the fingertips. Roll the elbows under and lift your hips to the sky. See if you can press your chest toward your heels. Yeah, long spine. Let the head go. Shake your head. No, yes. Just let it hang. So much tension we hold in our necks. This is the time to let it go. So keeping all of that in the upper body, just press the heels down to straighten the legs. So find your downward facing dog, and you can pedal the heels. Find any movements that let you create space in this posture, in this shape. Let it feel good. And then look forward between your hands. Walk your feet to the top of your mat. Keep your knees bent a lot. Chest connects to your thighs. And then you're just rounding your spine over the legs. So your legs act as foundation for your upper body. You can clasp your arms overhead. Maybe you sway from side to side. Again, head hangs heavy, so you're just releasing the day, and you can even imagine all of the stuff that gets stuck when you're upright all day long, all of that stuff you hold, just releasing, kind of pouring out of you. Keeping the knees nice and soft, strong foundation through the legs. Hands connect to the shins. Roll the shoulders back, lift halfway up through the spine. So imagine pressing through your shins and lifting your heart forward, and you're pressing your hips toward the back wall. Feel that length in your spine. Belly button supports your mid-body. Belly button to spine, and then open the arms out like wings. Press into the feet, come all the way up to standing. Press palms overhead, and then bring your hands to your heart. Open into Tadasana, palms reach forward, eye gaze forward, or you can close your eyes just for a moment. Stepping to the top of your mat, feet hip-width distance or big toes to touch. We'll do a few sun salutations, but not as many as Monday night or Ashtanga. So wherever your feet are most comfortable, let them be. Inhale to rise, palms press. Exhale, hinge, forward fold. Inhale to lengthen halfway, hands to the floor or shins. Exhale, plant your hands down, step back into plank. And for the first one, bring your knees down to the floor. Roll your elbows under and lower slowly, chest and chin. Keep the hips lifted. Slowly make your way onto your belly. Keep the shoulders rolling back, lifting through the chest. Baby cobra. Lifting up through table, pressing back, downward facing dog. Squeeze heels, lift hips, press chest. Just be. Pick a point between your ankles. Let your eye gaze settle. Spread your fingers wide. Connect your palms. And again, let your head hang. Let your spine be long. Feel your hips lifting up to the sky, like if there were a rope around your hips lifting toward the ceiling. How would that feel? You'd feel a little lighter in your feet and your hands, for sure. Look forward between your hands. Soften through the knees. Walk or step to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Knees bend as much as you need. Exhale, forward fold. Press into the feet. Sweep all the way up. Standing tall, palms press. Hands to heart. Open wide Tadasana. And again, inhale. We'll go through breath a little quicker. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, plant your hands, step back. Knees or toes, lower slow. Inhale to rise, open heart, upward facing dog or baby cobra. Exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Take 5 deep breaths. Let yourself settle into this shape. Heels squeeze, hips lift, chest presses to thighs. How about one more breath? Full exhale. Look between your hands. Walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale to rise, palms press. Hands to heart. open Tadasana. One more, just like that. Modify as needed. Exhale, hinge, forward fold. Knees are bent as much as you need. Inhale to lengthen halfway. Exhale, step back. Knees or toes, slowly lower. Hug your elbows to your sides. Inhale to rise. Exhale, press back. Downward facing dog. One more breath. Full exhale. Look between your hands, walk, step, or float. All the way forward, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale to rise, palms press. Hands to heart. Open forward. Close your eyes, take a moment. And just notice if there's any difference between now and when you first arrived. Just check in. And if you notice anything bubbling to the surface, use the breath. Feel it clearing away. On your next inhale, watch your hands come together, palms press. Exhale, hinge, forward fold. Option to skip the vinyasa this time if you want. You can step right back into downward facing dog. Or you can hold plank and lower and flow. So it's your choice how vigorous you make this class. It's not a vigorous class by any stretch, but you can kind of add or subtract movements as needed. So squeeze into your left heel. Right leg reaches back behind you. This is three-legged dog. Squeeze your heel toward the back wall. And feel that strength in the back of your leg all the way up. Press out through the heel. Press the hands away from that foot. And then bring your knee to your nose. Round your spine. Step between your hands. And you're lowering that left knee down. Uncurl the back toes if that's comfortable. And you're coming all the way up. So you're just in a low lunge. So if you're tight in that hip flexor, you probably want to keep the legs 90 degrees each. And just kind of work on that lift. So the feet are about hip width distance. Hip points aim forward. And if you lift your shoulders up, back, and down, you can sometimes, just from that chest lift, feel that stretch in the hip flexor if you're really tight. If you need more, walk the toes forward so that when you come forward into that front leg, you have some control over that stretch. Whereas when you're back here and you come forward into the knee, you're kind of stuck. There's a lot more to that, but we'll leave it there. You can bring your hands just to the top of the knee, send the shoulders back, and press actively. So wherever you are in the stretch, press actively into that right foot. Pull the right hip back, lift up through the chest. So the more you press into the foot, the more heat you start to build in that right hip. So if your right hip is kind of on fire right now, you're doing it correctly. Sweep the arms up if you feel called to. Dial the pinkies in and feel the upper back opening. Now keep pressing into that front foot. Every little action is probably needs to be a reminder. Oh yeah. And then bring your hands to your heart. Just open back a little bit. Little open heart. Lift up out of your waist. Take your eye gaze maybe to the corner of the ceiling. And then slowly lower down. Right hand reconnects with your knee. Your left hand comes underneath your shoulder. And then you're actively extending through your waist and rotate over that right side. Just a little twist. If you have space here, you can straighten that right arm. Shoulders are stacked. And maybe you take your eye gaze to that top hand, if that feels okay for your neck. If not, you can just let your eyes settle on the side wall or even down at the floor. Keep pulling that right hip back toward the back wall. And then exhale, let the hands frame the front foot. And you're straightening that front leg. Come all the way up and straighten into that front leg. You're curling your toes and pressing out through the heel. It's a little hamstring stretch. This might be enough for you. Just kind of holding here. What you want to focus on is the straight spine, shoulders rolling back. Your belly button draws in to support the spine. And if you feel like you're kind of teetering, just take the heel out toward the outer edge of your mat just a little bit. Pull that right hip back. Left hip presses forward a little bit. And then you're coming forward if you need a little bit more stretch. Keep squeezing into the heel for a little more active stretch. And then slowly release. Take the hands to the inside of that front foot. Sweep the leg around. And then you're pressing back into downward facing dog. You can hold here in your downward facing dog or roll forward into your plank, and then you're lowering slow. Flowing through a vinyasa. So plank to lower, up dog, down dog. Slowly roll forward. Find your way back into that plank, nice strong plank. This time you're lowering your left knee down. You're kickstand that left leg, the left lower leg, and then roll the instep of the right foot into the earth. Strong foundation through that left hand, and you're reaching up to stack the fingertips. I'm going to come this way so I can see you. Yeah, and then that right hip opens to the ceiling. Stack the arms. You can stay here, or if you have balance, lift that right leg. Reach the toes away from the crown of your head and send the right fingertips as far up as you can to take weight off that left hand. So it almost feels like your left hand could float off the floor. And you can stay here, or if you have space, you can bend that top leg, catch the leg, and press to open into a little heart opener. Actively pressing into the hand with the foot or the ankle, setting the eye gaze wherever it feels best for your neck. And then slowly release. Coming all the way down. Set the hands, press back, downward facing dog. This time, right leg reaches back again, same leg. Right away, bend your knee. Let the knee come forward. Flex the foot, step between your hands, and keep that back heel lifted. So strong bend through the legs. Take the feet about hip width distance, so you're not on a tightrope, and sweep up into a crescent lunge. Sink deep and feel really stable in this pose, like you could launch, because we're gonna launch. Take your hands to your hips, lift up through the chest, bend that back knee, and pick up that left leg. So you're launching forward into a standing balance. Just find the stability. You can soften that standing leg and then hug that left knee into your chest. From here, you're kind of locking yourself into place. Shoulders roll back and your chest lifts. Keep that foot flexed. Settle your eye gaze wherever they land. And then bring your hands to your hips, or your right hand to your hip. Take your left hand to your shin, open the knee out. The two hip points still point forward. Your eye gaze still points forward to start. And you can stay with the eye gaze forward, or once your body is in place, then you can start to shift the eye gaze. And shifting to a blank wall is not fun. You have nowhere to land. Come back through center. Switch the hands. Right hand to shin, left hand to hip, lift up. And then slowly shift your eye gaze as you rotate your chest. So it's not just the eyes. The chest rotates over to the left side. If you have space, maybe that left arm reaches back, and you take your eye gaze to your thumb or somewhere nearby. You can wiggle your thumb and just kind of know it's there. And then bring your hands back through center. You can either hold on to the leg or bring your hands to your hips. And if you really want to challenge, lift your hands high, fingertips to the ceiling. Press that foot back. And you're coming into a warrior 3, just for a moment. And then all the way down. Plant your hands down, step back, downward facing dog. Hold here or flow through a vinyasa. Plank to lower. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. That was round 1. Come down to child's pose anytime you need it. This is home base. Come here anytime you need to collect your breath, collect your thoughts. Anytime you're feeling like the breath is becoming a little erratic, take the opportunity to ground in a little bit more. And then when you're ready, on your next inhale, press back into your downward facing dog. Look between your hands, walk, step, or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep up, long spine. Press palms overhead. Bring your hands to your heart. And then open palms forward, Tadasana. Set the feet. So I forgot this key movement. I shouldn't even say that. I shouldn't say, I forgot, right? Just let it flow. Bend your knees, sink down into chair pose. Fingertips lift, chest lifts, stabilize through the core. Bring your hands back behind you. Clasp your hands. Send your knuckles down toward the floor, past your tailbone, and open your heart. You can stay here or you can come forward. Nice stretch for the shoulders. Let the arms reach back behind you. Slowly release the hands. Hands frame the feet, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog or flow, yogi's choice. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. Heels squeeze, hips lift, chest presses to your thighs. Right heel squeezes toward the floor this time. Left leg presses back. Heel toward the ceiling, toes toward the floor. Keep both shoulders even, pressing evenly through both hands. Press the foot away from the hands. Feel like the foot is trying to escape. How does that feel? Let the hands be light. And then bring your knee to your nose. Step forward between your hands. Lower that back knee down. Uncurl the toes. Come all the way up. So you're coming back into that low lunge. So since you've already done this on one side, we're on the second side. You may know how far to let your toes go. So you can kind of mirror how deep you went. And just make sure the toes, when you bend your knee still stays behind your ankle. So you're nice and stable and controlled. Pull that left hip back, right hip presses forward, lift up through the chest. You can stay grounded with hands to the knee. Feel that lift up out of your waist, as though someone were just gently giving your upper body a lift. Upper body feels light. Legs feel strong. Stay here or sweep the arms. Roll the pinky fingers in to open the upper back. Send the shoulders back away from your ears. Keep pressing into that front leg. Maybe you go a little bit deeper. But keep pressing like you could press through the floor and pull that hip back, stabilize the shape. Bring your hands to your heart center. Lift up out of your waist, long through the spine, and just take it into a gentle bend, a gentle heart opener. So you're not going too far, but just expanding. Feel your heart sort of blossoming. And then exhale. Take that left hand to your knee, right hand underneath your shoulder, lengthen through your spine, and then rotate. Rotating over that left leg. Every inhale, feel the lengthening from crown to tail, and then every exhale, maybe you deepen the rotation, let that left hand leverage the twist. One more breath. Maybe you extend through the fingertips. Left fingertips brush the ceiling. Just expand right across the chest and the arms. And then hands come all the way back down. Frame that front foot. And you're straightening the front leg. Come all the way up and take the toes with you. So the toes pull toward your face as the heel presses away from you. You can stabilize the posture a little bit more by taking the foot a little wider. And then lift up out of the waist, hinge from the hips. And maybe you stay here. Maybe you come a little bit deeper. And feel like your heart is reaching toward the floor. So you're sort of leading through your heart space rather than just kind of diving the forehead toward the floor, which is not really ever a good idea. Keep pulling that left hip back. So stabilizing the posture. Imagine a little pulley system. So the top of the leg pulls toward the back of the room and the bottom of the leg presses out toward the front. And then bend into that front leg. Hands to the inside. And sweep the leg back. Set the hands, tuck the toes, lift up through downward facing dog. Stay here or roll forward like a wave and flow through your vinyasa if you choose. Roll forward into a plank. And then this time it's your right knee that touches down. Kickstand the leg, lower the left instep. Press strong into the right hand, left arm reaches to the ceiling. Fingertips reach high. Roll that left hip open. Feel light in that bottom hand, almost like I could slide a piece of paper underneath it. If you have space, let that left leg reach off the floor, parallel. And then from here, if you want, you can bend that top leg, reach back, catch the foot or the ankle, and press into the hand to open the front body. Feel that expansion, and then let the eye gaze settle wherever it will. And come all the way back. Hands touch down. Downward facing dog. Left leg presses back, three-legged dog. Extend through the heel, press into the hands, and then bring your knee forward, flex your foot, step between your hands. Keep that back heel lifted. Right away, sweep up, crescent lunge. Strong and stable in your lunge. So take the feet a little bit wider if you need to. You know where we're going now. You can even create some momentum for your launch. Take your hands to your hips. And then stand up. Flex the foot, lift up through the chest. Soften through that standing leg. So just get yourself used to shifting your balance to one foot. And then hug that knee. Lengthen through the spine, shoulders roll back, foot flexed. Settle the eyes, and then bring your left hand to your hip. Open that right knee out to the side. Keep the hip points pointing forward, and then if you want, you can start to shift your eye gaze. Ooh. And that's usually the consequence. Come back through center, shift, switch the hands, left hand to shin, right hand to hip, lift up out of your waist as you rotate. So nice long spine, you don't want to rotate through a rounded spine, lift up through the chest. Notice the difference between left and right side. And then if you have space, maybe that arm goes back behind you and you just give a little glance at your thumb. Come back through center. Bring your hands to your hips, or you can hold on to the back of the leg, or you can take the hands high. And then actively press. Full hinge into your warrior three, just for a breath, and then touch down, sweep back into your crescent, and then all the way down. Step back. From here, if you want, take a vinyasa, or just come right down into child's pose. If you need to reset, and just notice where you are, notice where your breath is. Sometimes the smallest movements can be the most intense. And take one more big breath in. Let it out. On your next inhale, come all the way back into downward facing dog. Look forward between your hands, walk, step, or float to the top of your mat, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Big inhale to rise, palms press. So good. Exhale, hands to heart. Open Tadasana. Bend your knees. Lift up through the chest. Little challenge if you want it. Sink a little bit deeper. And then lift your heels if you can, to whatever degree feels manageable. Lay your eyes, laser pointer somewhere, and then reach the arms back behind you, squeeze your shoulder blades. So your heels can touch down whenever you choose, or you can just reset and come right back into it. Reach the arms forward. Ooh. Just feel that shift of balance. Feel the toes moving in all directions to anchor you. Reach the arms back again. Slowly starting to straighten the legs. Shift your eye gaze toward the floor, and you're diving like you're an Olympian. Touch the heels down, lower the hands. Step back, downward facing dog or flow. Left leg touches down, or left heel touches down, right leg reaches back. Three-legged dog. You can stay in that grounded, strong option, or you can bend the knee, stack the knee over the hip, and open the hip. But be mindful that that right shoulder doesn't open out. And then draw your knee back into your chest. Slowly step forward. This time, lower that back heel down, setting up a warrior one. First with the legs, hands frame that front foot, pull the right hip back, left hip presses forward, and then open the arms like wings, squeezing the shoulder blades, lift through the chest. So the feet are really wide across the mat. And if you need more space, you can toe heel the foot out just a little bit wider, so you have more room for rotation in the hip, because sometimes that can be not fun on that back knee. And then arms reach forward, leave the chest where it is, strong through the legs, full bend in that front leg, and then inhale to rise. So warrior one. Pull that right hip back, left hip forward. Step the feet a little bit wider across the mat. Yeah. Like the length of the mat. Yeah. And then press into the feet. Press into the legs. Pull that hip back. And then take the hands forward. Coming into another little twist. Left hand to the outside of that right knee. Right arm opens out. Lift up out of the waist. And then hands come back through center to your heart. Straighten that front leg. Bring your hands to your hips. Pull that back foot in just a little bit. Square the hips to the front. Lift up out of the waist, and you're hinging. Maybe you take your hands to the top of the leg as a little brace. Pull that kneecap up toward the hip. So you're stabilizing through the flex and the quadricep, and you're pulling that right hip back, left hip forward, lifting up through the chest. Full hinge in the hips. If you have space, you can take the hands down to the floor. If we had blocks, we'd be using them here. Maybe one day we'll be able to use props again. But you can always just bring your hand to the shin or the top of the leg. Definitely don't press into the knee because knees don't like to bend backwards. And then take your left hand underneath your shoulder. Lengthen through your spine. And then maybe you send that right hand all the way up to the ceiling. Revolve triangle. If you have the space, you can take your hand to the top of the foot or to the outside of the front foot into the full expression of revolve triangle. But you can even do this as sort of a revolved pyramid, staying lifted if you feel like you have a lot of tension in that front leg, because this is a really deep stretch for that front leg. And then look down at the floor, bend that front leg, step both feet back, downward facing dog. Stay here or flow through a vinyasa. Rolling forward into plank. You can either take that first variation where you bring the left knee down, kickstand the leg, and just find that side plank variation. Or if you want a stronger variation, take the feet together and just roll both heels to the left and stack the legs and the hips, pressing up. So wherever you are, take a few breaths. In either version, maybe you lift that top leg. And then touch down. Come all the way back into downward facing dog. Right leg presses back, three-legged dog. Nice and strong. Sweep it forward, step between your hands. Come right up into that crescent lunge. So you've got that strong foundation. You know where we're going. Hands to hips, launch forward. So you can either keep the bent knee version, or you can play with peace fingers. You know where we're going with this one. My Ashtangi. So you can either hook the big toe with the peace fingers or catch the shin with both hands. So if you have the peace fingers, you straighten to whatever degree feels safe. You can even keep a nice bend and then press out through the heel. Sometimes being close to the wall means that you have more of a tendency to use it. And then open that leg out to the side. Maybe that looks familiar. Imagine laying down, doing this. And again, you can keep the knee bent if you're struggling with the leg straightening. Come back through center and then shift. So the straight leg version, you catch the outside of the foot, you lift up, and then you rotate. But you can absolutely keep this, the bent leg version. Come back through center. Catch behind the leg. Here's your challenge. Press through the ball of the foot. 5, 4, 3, 2, give it a little kick, and release. Shake it out. So you have an option if you choose to reset through a vinyasa or stay in stillness in Tadasana. Just a few breaths in downward facing dog if you're taking that option. One more round of breath. Exhale all the way out. Look forward between your hands. Step or float to the top of your mat. Lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale to rise. Palms reach. And then bring your hands to your heart. Open wide. Chair pose once again. So this is the final round. Last of the challenge flow. You can stay with the heels grounded or a little challenge with the toes lifted or the heels lifted. You can lift the toes too. That's a good practice also to practice pressing into the ball of your foot. Because really, every yoga posture, you should be able to lift your toes. So if you feel like you're gripping the mat to the death, maybe just try lifting the toes so that you're pressing through the ball of the feet and either side of the heel. But if you want that challenge of lifting the heels, reach back. Sink a little bit deeper. Lift up through the chest. Reach forward. Starting to shake a little bit. Reach back. And then straighten, dive. Come forward. How low can you go? Release the heels, release the hands, step back. Downward facing dog or flow. Right heel squeezes down, left leg reaches back, three-legged dog. Either the long version or the bent version, opening the hip. Either way, both shoulders stay square. And then bring your knee to your chest. Strong step between your hands, back heel touches down. So nice long step. So your front foot is between your hands. Your back foot is toward the back edge of the mat, depending on how tall you are. You can either have heels on one line or toe heel that front foot out just a little wider to get the rotation in the hips. So the left hip pulls back, right hip pulls forward. Engage that back leg a lot and press the outer edge of that back foot, the right foot, into the floor. Lift through the chest, reach the arms, shoulder blades squeeze together. Sink deep into that front leg, lift up through the chest. Yeah, nice and wide. Reach the arms forward. So one line from the fingers all the way down to the back heel. And then sweep up, warrior one. Fingertips reach to the ceiling, shoulder blades draw back. Send the hands forward. Bring that right hand to the outside of the knee. Left arm reaches back. Little twist. Bring the hands to the heart. And then bring the hands to the hips. Straighten that front leg. Look to the back foot. Step it in 6 or 8 inches. Square the hips to the front. Lift up through the chest. Press into the feet like you could press through the floor, but lift the kneecaps up toward the hips. So you're rotating, pressing, and lifting all at the same time. Length through the spine. And then come forward. Almost like you're turning a dial with the hips. Once you reach that center point where your spine is parallel to the floor, pull that left hip back even more. And then you can bring your hands to the top of the leg. Keep that front leg engaged so you're not locking out that front knee. And then if you have space, maybe you come a little bit lower, but only if you feel like you can keep that hinge in the spine. If the hamstring starts to scream, or you start to round in the spine, or you lose the integrity of that front leg, keep it lifted. And then coming into that twist, so the left hand comes to your hip. You can either bring your right hand back to the top of the leg or to the lower leg. And there's like a few different levels, right? So this is kind of the first level, second level, and then you can come down. Normally I would have blocks. You can come down to the floor, hand underneath the shoulder. Fourth level is to the top of the foot. Fifth level is to the outside of the foot. Keep pulling that hip back. And then send left hand high. Revolt, triangle. Then soften that front leg. Look down. Plant the hands, step back. Downward facing dog. Roll forward into plank. Right knee down, kickstand the leg. Find your way back into that plank, side plank variation. Or lifted version, bring the toes together. Roll the heels over to the right side, stack the legs. So you're coming into your side plank variation, pressing the hips toward the ceiling. Maybe you lift the leg, top leg to the ceiling. And then spin all the way back down. Press back, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts high, three-legged dog. Bend your knee, step forward between your hands. Crescent lunge, sweep up. The last little bit of it. So find that deep lunge. Bring your hands to your hips. Step forward. So now that this is the third time we've done this, you know which option suits you best. So you're either taking the knee or one hand to your hip, one hand to your big toe. You can keep the knee bent, hug the knee to the arm. Then you play with how straight you want that leg. And then you open the leg out to the side. Maybe you shift your eye gaze. Hip point stays square to the front. Come back through center. Switch, so you're either connecting left hand to knee or left hand to the outside of that right foot. Maybe you look to the back hand. Come back through center. Holding on to the leg or hands to hips. Press through the ball of the foot. 5, 4, 3, 2, give it a little kick. Release. Give it a little shake. Give it a good shake. Shake it all off. Let it go. So, animals in the wild, I always do this, and I tell this story, and you can not care, but the whole purpose of like shamanic shaking, when you just kind of like move into your body, really releases stress. And the reasoning behind it, so you've got a gazelle, it's being chased by a lion, it's in total fight or flight, right? It's running, trying not to get eaten. It escapes. The lion does not catch it. It's hiding somewhere. It goes into this full body tremor, and it just releases, goes about its day, eats some grass. And what we do when we get stressed is we hold it and we don't let it go, and So all of this movement is good for us. It releases all that stuff that we should be shedding every day. So forget what it looks like, because nobody really cares anyway. If you choose, you can shake for a little bit, or take one more vinyasa, as big or as little as you want it. And then once you get into downward facing dog, send your knees all the way down to the earth. Take child's pose. Forehead touches down. Feel grounded here. Feel supported. Slowly make your way forward. You're coming back into table. Tuck your toes this time. Walk your hands out. And I'm actually going to back up a little bit, so I'm a little more on my mat. So if you feel like you're too far close to the mat, the top of the mat, you can back up a little bit. So you're walking your hands forward and lowering your chest down toward the earth. Two options of this. So you're keeping your hips lifted, really opening for the shoulders and the upper back. You're either bringing your forehead down, or if you have space in your neck, you bring your chin down to the earth and you take your eye gaze between your hands. So they call this one puppy pose or anahatasana, but I think puppy pose, if you call it that, you can kind of get the idea of when your puppy plays and they make these little shapes. They're just nice, happy, heart-opening shapes. And then slowly make your way forward. So staying low to the ground, you can even take your elbows forward just a little bit. You're coming all the way down to your belly. Let your elbows be right underneath your shoulders, and your arms are about 1 forearm distance apart. And you're engaging your back body. So your glutes are engaged. You're pressing into your hip bones. So your hips are pressing down into the earth, and you're lifting out of your waist. And to do that, you press down into the elbows and then drag the elbows back toward your hips. So the shoulders reach away from your ears. So what you don't want is this like jamming into the neck and all the shoulder joints. It's a really active pose. It's not even like a casual pose. Keep the neck nice and long, so you're almost gazing a couple feet in front of your mat, pressing down into the floor and then actively dragging the elbows back. Sphinx pose, if you haven't guessed already. And then slowly walk your hands out. Forehead touches down. Bend your knees. Windshield wiper the legs. Tuck the toes down. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Lift up. Press back. See if you can keep the knees together and come back into a child's pose. One last time. So with the knees together, you're stretching out the lower back a little bit more. So nice counter stretch for those heart openers. And of course, take the knees a little bit wider if you need to make space for bellies or if you feel like your breath is compressed at all. One more breath. Feel that release of tension. And then roll all the way back up. So you're walking toward the top of your mat. Bring your knees between your hands, cross your ankles, and come forward. Sitting tall, lifting up through your spine, anchoring into your sits bones, reach the hands out, and then you're scooping your belly just a little bit and rolling one vertebra at a time all the way down. See if you can articulate each point. And then once you get there, hug your knees into your chest, rock from side to side. And you can stay here, or you can take a happy baby, catch the outsides of your knees or the outsides of your feet, and let your knees open out to either side of your ribs. So you send the soles of the feet to the ceiling. And you can rock from side to side, just massage your back body once more. Or stay in stillness. Slowly release. Bring the soles of your feet together, knees open out. And your hands can be by your sides or on your belly, or you can clasp your elbows to rest your hands overhead. And take a few breaths here. Just let everything settle. Feel that opening in the hips and the expansion in the front body. And then slowly bring your knees back together. You can guide them. Toe heel your feet to the outer edges of the mat. Let the knees fall in. Just take a counter pose. And then when you're ready, you can stretch the legs long. We'll take a little Shavasana. The legs can open to the outer edges of the mat. Let the feet just release any tension. Let the arms be by your sides, palms up to receive, or down if you need more grounding. You can do a little scan from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. See if there's any tension that needs to be released. Use the breath again to actively release, actively clean house, that internal environment. And just as you are, begin to bring your awareness back to your breath. Feel the air flowing through your nostrils, into your mouth and your throat, expanding your chest, your ribs, your belly. As your breath deepens, start to invite some movements into your fingers and toes. And letting those movements grow deeper, making their way towards center, toward your core. Inviting whatever movements allow you to come back into your body, into the room. And when you're ready, draw your knees into your chest. Maybe rock from side to side, massage your spine once more. And then rolling to your right side, curl into a little ball. Just for a moment, just be fully within yourself, present, aware. Keeping your eyes closed, pressing yourself back into a seated position, whatever that means for you right now. And so when you're ready, coming back into seated, sitting tall, bringing your hands into your heart center, Anjali Mudra, bowing your head. Take a deep breath in, all the way down the length of your spine. Gather anything that needs to be released and let it out through a sigh. Or you can close with the sound of Om if you choose to join, or you can just listen. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Peace. Peace, peace. So much gratitude. Thank you for joining. Hope to see you both again. Have a great night. Any questions or anything, I will be here cleaning up. I'm just going to stop this.